Bags down, spikes on. Welcome to the track. My name is Colin Weitzman. I'm going to be your host of this episode of Track World News. Super excited for this. Got a lot of things that are going on, and one of my most exciting stories of the year so far. Before we get into that, make sure that you like, subscribe, follow the channel or the show. Really helps us know that you're enjoying the content, and let's get into it. So before we get into the things that I'm really excited about, let's start off with some bad news. So unfortunately, the United States' indoor nationals has been canceled. It's no surprise. This was scheduled for February 20th and 21st in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And yeah, they announced that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, just didn't make sense safety-wise to be able to have these athletes coming from all over the country, have officials and whatever that might be. And so it's understandable. I mean, looking at how indoor meets are going so far this year anyway, right now it's a lot of smaller meets, team like 2, 3, maybe 4 teams, not a lot of athletes competing at once. So having it to be a national championship where you're having athletes from all over the country and you'd have to have a lot of athletes just doesn't make sense. And it's unfortunate, and I'm sure all those athletes that were really primed to do well are upset, and I'm sure that this had a lot of implications for money that these athletes were making, because this is yet another meet that they're not able to compete, and yet another meet where these professional athletes who might have, or most of them would probably have, things in their contract written where, hey, if you place at nationals, you get X amount of a bonus, or if you win nationals, or you get a bonus, or if you qualify, you get a bonus, whatever it might be. And now that's another hindrance of where they're not going to be making any more money or less money, which is unfortunate. So we'll see how this prepares them. We already saw the World Indoor Nationals got postponed to 2023. So it looks like this will probably just be postponed till next year, or just overall canceled. So sad, but not expected, or not unexpected. Next, another piece of sad news. The Armory has officially ceased all their meets. So the New York Armory, that's in New York City, they just announced the other day that they're going to be canceling the remainder of their meets in order to support their community's initiatives. There isn't any official word on what that means, but a lot of people are suspecting that it has something to do with the hospital and being able to support them, because there is a hospital right next door. So people are thinking that it has something to do with having extra space for hospital beds, or having extra space for be able to conduct vaccines or storages of things, or whatever that might be, because it's a pretty big area. So they will be ceasing their meets. They have had 20 meets already, very small, mostly for high schoolers and some individual athletes. I think every athlete that competed had to wear a mask while competing. So it stinks, but I mean, it's for a good cause that they're trying to support the hospital, most likely, or something else involved with the community. So unfortunate, but it's great to see that it's not like the space is going to waste. Now, this is my favorite story of the year so far. I know this is we're only 11 days in, or 12 days into the year, but this is definitely something I'm super excited about. So you'll remember last week we announced that there's going to be a new professional outdoor track and field circuit that's going to be going on throughout the United States. So there's going to be different meets in Tennessee, California, Oregon, yada, 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 yada. And so those are starting in the springtime. I believe March, we said. No, May, sorry, summertime. So like they're starting towards the end of the year. And something that was really exciting, nothing had been announced yet, but American Track League, if you remember, I think it was a year or two ago, I think 3 years is when they started. American Track League is this new and exciting professional league that wanted to bring a more fan-centric idea to the sport. So they shortened their meets. So I think that their meets were supposed to finish within 2.5 hours, 3 hours, something like that. So cut down a lot from the 2 days that you needed to. and they made sure they were the events that people liked. They allowed fans to get really close. I remember for pole vault, you were able to be literally within like 3 feet of the actual runway. So athletes were having interactions with the fans, and they made rules to make things go faster. I remember with the vault specifically, if 3 athletes or 4 athletes, I think, cleared a height, it automatically went to the next bar. So it added a little bit more strategy, a little bit more excitement, and more speed to the events. So we can, get these things going, and people aren't sitting there for an entire day, because people don't have that time to watch our sport. And so obviously with COVID, there was hesitation on coming back, and they had some pretty big names in it. I think Sandy Morris was in it, and Andre DeGrasse competed in it, some other big names. So they obviously stopped with what's going on recently, but they are back, and it is super exciting. Just recently, they announced they're going to be having 4 meets going on indoors this year that are going to be broadcasted on ESPN. So the first meet, January 24th, second meet, January 31st, third, February 7th, and then fourth, February 14th. All of these are going to be broadcasted on ESPN or one of their affiliates, so like ESPN2 or something like that, ESPN3, which is really exciting. So those are going to be going on during those Sundays. They're all going to be competed at the University of Arkansas's campus. So it was supposed to be going on throughout the United States, but due to the COVID restrictions, they're all going to be there. And they've added some really cool and exciting layers to the sport to make it more exciting. This thing that I'm interested to see how it faces up is the knockout event. So what's going to happen is in the 60 and the 60 meter hurdles for men and women, there is going to be a knockout where it's going to be a 4-heat final essentially, and they're all head-to-head matchups, so 1 versus 1, and there'd be 2 heats of 1 entry. So like in the entry, it'd be a 1v1, and there'd be 2 heats of them, and you'd go head to head, and if you win, you move on to the semis, and then if you win the semis, you move on to the finals and whatever it is. What's exciting and different, one, it's a head-to-head matchup, so you're seeing 1 athlete versus 1 athlete, which is something that's really cool. And then the second is that they have a fan vote where you can add somebody that may not have made the finals. Maybe they had a bad semis, they tripped over a hurdle, or just a fan favorite. You'll be able to have them get voted in to go into the finals to be able to compete. So this is something that's making the sport even more exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. One, because it's more track and field that we can be able to watch, and I always love that. And 2, they're really streamlining these events with some of the most exciting events, which is something that I've been preaching and saying we need and shouting from the rooftops. This is something that we need to do. Take the most exciting events in track and field, because everyone knows what they are. It's the sprints, the jumps, the throws, and that's it. So let's take those. And some distance, like up to the mile or so. Those would be about your exciting events. So why don't we take the most exciting events and be able to have athletes compete in them? And that's what they're doing. And so with these events for men, this is for the January 24th. So for every meet, they change the events a little bit, so you'll see different athletes every time. But for the first one, on the male side, you have the 60-meter dash, the 60-meter hurdles, the 400, and the shot put. And then on the women's side, you have the 60 meters, the 60-meter hurdles, the 300, the 400, the 800, pole vault, and high jump. So it is a lot more female-centric, which is great. We're going to be able to see more female events and probably more female athletes. And some of the more exciting events are on the female side. The jumps, pole vault, which is the one that I'm really looking forward to, is not going to be competed on the male side during any of the meets. So the only male field events, sorry about that, that will be competed in throughout the 4 meets are going to be shot put and long jump. And that's as of today. Things could always change. But as of right now, those are the only 2 field events, which is upsetting because I think that there are quite a bit of talented, triple jumpers and pole vaulters and high jumpers that we would like to see on the male side. But for some reason, they're not having them here. Don't know why, but for some reason they're not having them here. So really looking forward to this. It's a new take on track and field that I think is much needed. The sport has a lot of talent and a lot of excitement, but we get too caught up in, I think, records and making sure that we're staying to the status quo of what running should be and how track meets should be ran, that we're not actually innovating at all. And if you don't innovate, you're not going to grow. And if you don't grow, your sport's going to die. And I don't want that to happen. I don't think anybody that's listening to this wants that to happen. You want to see the sport grow. And so this is a great creative take on that. I'm excited to watch. I'll be sitting down watching every single meet, definitely letting you know what's going on and keeping you up to date with that. Next, we have two other stories. One really quick, really stupid. I've talked about similar instances before, but we saw recently, if you're a fan of football, Devontae Graham, who's the Heisman Trophy winner. Right now, they're playing right now as we speak. So I don't know who won. I think it's like the first half has just happened. So if you're listening to this, my prediction's Alabama won, and I think Devontae is doing pretty well. Hopefully that's not going to come back to bite me in the morning. But so he won the Heisman, and Miles Split came out with his times because he ran track in high school, and he ran, I believe, a 10:69. He jumped 49 feet in the triple jump, and I think he did like a 23 or a high 22 or low 23 in the 200 and like a 49 in the 400. And people were like saying, wow, this dude's so slow. His times are terrible. I can't believe, like, why would you broadcast this? Well, one, they're broadcasting it because this is the Heisman Trophy winner. And people are talking about, oh man, this is so slow. He's not fast at all. Well, he's fast enough to win the Heisman Trophy. So what are you talking about? Like people are just finding ways to hate on athletes that compete in other sports, just to hate because we're track and we're great. And it's so frustrating. It's like, what are you trying to prove? He ran these times in high school as an athlete that focused on football. Do you really think that he couldn't be faster if he focused on track and field? Like, he was focusing on a sport where he is going to be a first round pick, they don't have lottery, but a top 10 pick in the NFL that was focusing on football, and he decided to run track to be able to keep speed for football, and you're going to go and criticize him saying, yeah, he's not fast, which he is. 10.6 is fast. Is it world record speed? No. Is it national speed? No. But that'll get you to districts. That'll... depending on what states you're in. I think he was in, Louisiana, so maybe not. They're pretty fast, but it'll win you some pretty good meets. Like, most people cannot run a 10:69. He ran really fast, and people are over here complaining. And it's just so stupid. We saw this with DK. I mean, now I saw a comparison. Apparently, someone was saying that Devontae, like, oh, he's faster than Usain Bolt in the 60. That's dumb. That's just a football announcer that doesn't know what he's talking about. That doesn't know track, and that's fine. Like, I don't expect people to know everything about our sport, but he was just saying that because now we're talking about it. So I don't take that very seriously. But can we just stop hating on football players that are fast? Like, just because they're not world record speed, and people keep saying, oh, there's a difference between football speed and track speed. Just call it what it is. Speed is speed. That, like, you don't have to say football speed and track speed. Like, if you run this time, you're fast. Not if you run this time, you're football fast. If you run this time, you're track fast. If you run this time, you're fast. If you're not fast. Like, I don't know why we keep doing this stuff. It's just so dumb to me. Next and final thing. This was the first real big weekend for track and field for colleges. I don't want to cover a ton of stuff because we've already done a whole bunch of things. So I'm just going to talk about two real highlights that stood out to me, that were exciting performances and ones that I want to keep an eye out and want to let you know about. So first was Trayvon Conwell from Clemson. He ran a 32.97 in the 300 meters. That was the school record and was also the best for 10th all time. Now, obviously, the 300 isn't a common race that is run usually more common indoors, I guess you could say, but really fast, and it's great seeing things from Clemson. It's just giving more and more reason on why Clemson track should be here. I mean, just seeing every week, like I hope that somebody puts together like these great times every single week. I'm hoping they do that because then it's just it's gonna prove to the president of Clemson, like, what are you doing? Why are you canceling this? Like, your team's obviously good and is bringing in talent and is bringing in students, and you're canceling it. It's just so dumb. So I'm hoping that they continue their success. And then the next performance that I'd like to go over. It wasn't actually technically a college sanctioned event. I'll go over that in a second. But Sandre Guterman, he's from Princeton. He is a junior, I think, this year, junior at Princeton. He transferred. He was at UCLA before, I believe, and now he's here at Princeton. He jumped 5.66 in the pole vault, which is 18 feet 7 inches, which would be good for number 1 in the NCAA. It was an Ivy League record. No one in the Ivy League has ever jumped higher than he has, and also a stadium record out in, what was it? Was it Sweden? No, it wasn't Sweden. I think it was the Netherlands. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong, but it was a stadium record out where he was. Unfortunately, it does not count towards NCAA because the Ivy League has canceled all winter sports, so it wasn't a Princeton mark. It was just an individual mark. So it doesn't count towards anything, but he is a student athlete, and so it was really cool to see such a great jump that would be leading in the NCAA right now, but unfortunately doesn't mean much. Hopefully he'll be able to get some more jumps. I know he won't be able to compete for his school for at least indoors. We'll see what happens with the Ivy League outdoors, but great jump. And so looking forward to seeing with even more schools coming back for next week. I think Florida is having their first meet next week. I think Kansas as well, and a few other major schools will be having their first meets coming up. So that is very exciting. Well, we've had a lot to talk about, and I'm glad that you guys stayed to listen. This has been another episode of Track World News. If you liked it, please make sure that you go and like the episode, subscribe, follow, share with a friend. Really helps us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you want more, make sure you follow us on social media, or Instagram mainly, at Track World News. We post updates on the channel, some news clips, and other stuff that's going on in the track world. So have a good one, and peace.